Hey, what's up, guys? I hope everyone's doing fantastic. Today I want to talk about All the Money in the World, starring Michelle Williams, Mark Wahlberg, and Christopher Plummer, directed by Ridley Scott. This is a fictionalized retelling of the events that took place when 16-year-old John Paul Getty III was kidnapped back in the 70s. It focuses on the determination of his mother to get her son back despite John Paul Getty not wanting to pay the ransom. This film originally starred Wahlberg, Williams, and Kevin Spacey, and despite having a solid cast and Ridley Scott directing, it did kind of feel like it came in under the radar. It's dropping in the heat of Oscar season. It really wasn't generating a lot of buzz. Then comes all these waves of allegations against Kevin Spacey, who originally played John Paul Getty in this film. Spacey's career basically crumbles within days, and then this film is really left with a tough decision. They had a completed project that was already being marketed. They were just over a month away from their release date, and they make their announcement. Spacey's role is going to be cut from the film. It's going to be replaced with Christopher Plummer in what would equate to reshoots costing in the neighborhood of $10 million. So I was definitely curious to see whether or not they were going to get the reshoots finished and the film re-edited in time for their December 22nd release date. They had Wahlberg and Williams return to the site in Rome, and they all got it done. And I think all of this was compelling enough for its own plot, in my opinion. And for that aspect, the anticipation for this movie and seeing the final product was a must. So first, let's talk about these reshoots and how they turned out. I thought they were all very well done considering the time frame that they were working with. Getty has a significant amount of screen time in this film, and the filmmakers were really fortunate that his character was kind of isolated to a singular location for a majority of the movie. There were a few noticeable moments where you could see the digital manipulations that were made in replacing Spacey with Plummer when the character is in different locations and different time periods, but for me it didn't hinder the film at all. And with them having Wahlberg and Williams return to reshoot their scenes, the detail they took in the lighting and the wardrobes and the hair and the makeup gave the reshoots all a seamless flow with the original cut of the film for me. Now, with all the talks of reshoots aside, this was a good movie with some positives and some negatives, so let's break it down. First, the positives. I thought the performances were solid all around. Wahlberg was serviceable, but he was his textbook personality, and luckily it just worked for the needs of this role, and despite not adding a lot of substance to the character, he still does make it work. Michelle Williams and Christopher Plummer, though, were easily the bright spots for me. Williams was very convincing in her portrayal of the strong-willed but desperate mother wanting to get her son back. She really brought the emotional impact that was needed for some specific scenes, and she did really carry this film along for me, even though there was a lack in development in her character. I thought Christopher Plummer was fantastic, and to me, he kind of did feel like the better choice for this role. I really have enjoyed Kevin Spacey's performances over the years, but like Wahlberg, he can kind of carry a similar personality amongst a wide range of character types that can often hinder the impact of a certain role. I thought Christopher Plummer was really able to disappear into this portrayal of Getty. This was a man that was so wrapped up in his fortune that it gave him a lavish life, but one of solitude. His wealth was his first love. He felt everyone wanted a piece of his money, and that may have been true to an extent, but he lacked a lot of situational awareness to really see through that, to spot those that were really just out there for him and not for his money. This mindset of his caused a lot of frayed and even broken relationships with people that could have truly cared about him. This turned his wealth into something that, instead of drawing people to him, actually pushed a lot of important people, including his family, away, and I thought Plummer captured all of these dynamics perfectly. From a technical aspect, there was a nice visual appeal to this film. The locations and settings were all well captured. There's a nice soft color palette to it that does an effective job of putting the story in its time period. The direction was solid. You can tell it's a Ridley Scott film, and I enjoyed it. There wasn't anything flashy, but he frames up the shots nicely to give everything a mildly artistic flair that I liked. During certain situations, the story does weave some very tense moments, and there are a handful of very well-crafted scenes between the characters with some well-written interactions, and I was able to sense the tension building through specific scenes as the film progressed, but for some reason it just didn't hit that intended impact for me, which leads me into some of the issues that I had. Now, it's difficult to pinpoint which exactly is the case, but as it was, this film was on the slow side and longer than it needed to be, but at the same time, I felt like there was more story to tell and building more substance to certain characters and their dynamics. I think had the editing been a little tighter and cut certain scenes that didn't necessarily move the story forward, replacing them with more development of the relationships, I think the pace and the continuity could have improved a lot more. It felt like it was going to start with a much quicker pace in the first act, and from there it really does slow down for a bulk of the final two acts. The moments of tension and suspense that this film creates extremely well in certain moments are just not able to fully build onto one another as much as I thought they could have. These these moments in the end kind of feel like independent flashes over the course of a long timeline, or like a road that does have streetlights, but they're spaced out so far that the glow that they cast never can connect. But overall, this was an entertaining movie, and I really did enjoy it. It was interesting, it was very engaging at times, and I thought Plummer stepped in with a fantastic performance. So I'm going to give All the Money in the World 85% on the entertainment meter. It's definitely worth a watch, maybe on the weekend for a matinee price. Now, if you were still here, I have one digital movie for anyone interested. Today it is John Wick Chapter 2. Just visit the site you see on the screen now, enter the code that you see, and watch Keanu Reeves kick some ass. And that's it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this review of All the Money in the World. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe to the channel so you can catch all the new reviews. Thank you so much for watching as always, guys. I always do appreciate it. I'm Anthony. This is the Silver Screen Analysis, and I'll see you at the movies.